Good morning. I believe we're still in the good morning. Good morning, everyone, for joining the call. I am Dr. Nicole Rankin, and this is our second week of the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. I hope you all have been having a wonderful time. Last week, we were getting a great start. As I said before, this is one of my favorite books of personal growth and development. It just gives you the opportunity to delve within, ask those self-awareness questions, those questions that we normally don't ask ourselves because we are too busy. We're working, we're dealing with the children, we're dealing with the husband, we're dealing with so many other things that we don't take the time to invest in ourselves, to grow ourselves, to work on ourselves. So this book gives you a growth plan where you can take each chapter and truly dive into the principles. I always said the goal of this series is to learn the principles, then to start living out the principles in your life, and then to teach others as well how to increase their awareness and personal development. So that is what we are seeking out to do. Our first week, we have talked about the law of intentionality. We started off with the law of intentionality. And the law of intentionality says growth doesn't just happen. And that was an amazing start to the week because it gave you some questions and some things to think about. What are those things that are stopping you from growing? And if you recall from our last meeting, we talked about those growth gaps, right, that hinder you from growing. We had the assumption gap, the knowledge gap, the timing gap, the mistake gap, those that are afraid to make mistakes, the perfection gap, wanting things to be perfect before you start, the inspiration gap, just really not feeling like doing it, the comparison gap, that was huge, where you're comparing yourself to others, and which is really impeding and stopping your own growth, and then the expectation gap that you thought it would be easier than this. So we know that as we're going after our dreams, as we're going after our goals, there are opportunities where these gaps have to be filled in. And I always share that when you're going after your dreams, you know, these are things that are bigger than you, because a lot of times where you have dreams, you have visions. A dream is really just an alternative vision of the future. You're desiring to do, be, and have more. So you're going into the unknown. You're going into something that you don't know. You really, and it can be scary, right? It can be scary. I always listen to a lot of these motivational speakers and these amazing thought leaders, and they just tell you just to go and take the risk and jump. And if you see it, you can achieve it, and they get you all pumped up and hyped that you can achieve everything. And I truly believe that is the truth. However, what they don't tell you is all the work, the work behind it. They don't tell you all the challenges that come in the midst of your journey. They don't tell you about all the failures that you're going to face in the midst of your journey. But those are all a part of the process. So when we're talking about growing ourselves and truly developing ourselves to be the person that we were created to be in order to manifest the potential that we have to be able to overcome all of these gaps, all of the challenges, all of the fears. Remember last week we talked about the fears that we will face, the fear of failure, the fear of the unknown, the fear of not having the resources, the fear of what will other people think of my success. Some people are afraid to be successful because people will be like, oh, what, you think you're too good now? So those things that play in our mind that stop us from going after our goals and going after the things that we know that we have been created to achieve and created to have. We are created to live in abundance. And I tell people this all the time. As I said, I'm a woman of faith, and I truly believe in my spirituality because that is the core of who I am and how that has allowed me to get to where the point of where I am, transitioning from my corporate job to being an entrepreneur and to having the life that I have right now. It truly took a leap of faith and a daily trusting in the source, that my source, my Heavenly Father. So having that faith and having that understanding that you need that spiritual piece as well is huge, because that's going to help you be motivated, help you keep going, help you keep moving to the next step. So that was last week. So your homework was to identify where you see yourself in those gaps that we talked about, and where you see yourself in the failures that we talked about. And because once you identify where you are, then that's where we can start mapping out a plan to get you from where you are to where you want to go. So this week, we are going to dive into the next 3 laws within the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. We're going to talk about the law of awareness. And the law of awareness says you must know yourself to grow yourself. The law of the mirror says you must see value in yourself to add value to yourself. And the law of reflection says learn to pause allows growth to catch up with you. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the law of awareness. The law of awareness says you must know yourself to grow yourself. So the big question is, who are you? Who are you? And I know that is three words, but they're so powerful when you pose it as a question, because a lot of times we are living this life. We are entering professions, doing careers, being every label that we can have. We're mother, we're leader, we're aunt, we're sister, we are, supervisor, whatever the titles that we have. But the question is, who are you? Who have you been created and designed to be? And that is the reason why we need to understand that, why we need growth. Because reaching our potential or basically experience our full capacity, we have to know who we are and who we were created to be. I always say that the highest form of leadership, before I teach anybody how to lead others, I focus on the highest form of leadership, which is self-leadership, because you cannot lead others effectively if you can't lead yourself. So in understanding who you are, you have to know your strengths, you have to know your weaknesses, those things, your interests, the opportunities you have, and where you are and where you want to be. So think about the things that you have done so far in your life. And I always tell people, when you're trying to find your passion, trying to find your purpose, you have to be aware of the life that you're living. So a lot of times we're just living life, but we don't take time to pause and evaluate the things that we have done so far. And if you just take a stop and look at your life and look at where you are, you can see the amazing things that you have accomplished in your life up till today. Just take a look back and look at the things that you have done. So in those experiences, in those opportunities that you have had thus so far, you can identify your strengths. Think of different circumstances where you just felt like you were just had that total superpower. I call it your sweet spot, where you are just rocking and rolling. You have that passion and that energy. There's something about you that takes over when you were doing that specific thing or experiencing that certain circumstance, where you saw your strength and you were like, man, I'm really good at this. But there are also times and experiences where you experience your weaknesses, where you're like, man, I'm not so good at that. So these are the things that we have to identify. What are your interests? What are the things that you like to do? What are the things that drive you? What are the causes that you love to get behind, whether it's because of things that you have experienced in your life or you just have a genuine interest in? So these are the things when you're finding your passion and finding your purpose, you need to understand and be personally aware of who you are. So there are 3 kinds of people that are looking to find direction. There are people who don't know what they like to do, and these are usually confused people. Then there are people who are, who know what they want to do but don't know how to do it. And these are people who are frustrated. So these things like, I know I want to do this, but I just really don't know how to get there. And then there are people who know what they want to do and they are actually doing it. And this is where we all want to be. These are the people that are living their fulfilled life. These are the people that are living their purpose. And I can tell you from experience, I have been through all of these three phases. I was at a point where, I just didn't know what I wanted to do. I was in a career, I established a career for myself and had a wonderful career and had the status, had doing leadership and supervisory, working in a prominent organization, but I knew there was more. I knew I wanted to do more. I knew there was more for me to have, and I knew there was more for me to be in this world. And I was just confused. I just didn't understand. And then I got to the point where I started to do that self-reflection for myself. I started to understand those things that I needed to do to be aware of who I was. So then it started to click because I had to understand my strengths, know my weakness, what are the interests that I have, the opportunities that I have, where have I worked in my sweet spot in the past? And then things started to come together. So I'm like, okay, wow, I have a whole new outlook on something that I can do, but I don't know how to get there. So then I had to go through that phase. I had to find people that were doing the things that I wanted to do. I had to get a coach. I had to get an accountability partner. I had to work all those things out. And now I'm at a point where I know what I want to do, and I'm doing it. I'm living the life that I truly believe that I have been created to live, and it's just an amazing thing. So when you're looking at your purpose and your passion, when you think about your purpose, you want to understand who are you designed to be. That is your purpose. Who are you designed to be? And your passion is knowing what you love to do. And when you put those all together, it's an amazing, amazing, amazing awareness of who you are. Robert Schuller said that if you knew ask yourself, if you knew something you could not fail at, what would you do? And those are some questions that you need to ask yourself. If you knew that you couldn't fail, what would you do? So to understand your purpose and your passion, ask yourself some of these questions outlined in the book. Do you like what you're doing now? And that's something to explore. A lot of times that people don't like what they're doing. They may not like the situation that they are in. Maybe they don't like the company that they're with, or they don't like the people that they're around, but they actually like what they do. So now that it's just a matter of understanding how to change those circumstances so it can be more conducive to you. Then what would you like to do is another question. If you're not doing what you want to do, what are the things that you like to do? Now, this is a question about your direct passion. And there's a direct connection between finding your passion and reaching your potential. So understanding the things that you like to do, that is moving into your sweet spot. Because remember last week we talked about people normally on average don't only use about 10% of their potential. So that's a whole another 90% that we need to tap into. So understanding your passion, understanding the things that you like to do. And then assessing, can you do what you want to do? And this is where you start to understand where you are, knowing your limitations and knowing the things that you need to do to build yourself in order to become the person who is ready to accept that potential. A lot of times we allow the fact that we are not where we want to be to stop us in moving forward, but that's where the motivation comes in. That's where you need to delve in. Find the things that you need to do to enhance yourself, to develop yourself, to learn so you can become the person that you need to be to reach your full potential. And the next question, do you know why you want to do it, right? Having an understanding of why you want to do. I was always talking about you have to know your why. My mentor says if your why doesn't make you cry, it's not big enough. So you have to find out why you want to do it. So that is going to give you the motivation to keep going. And next question that you have, do you know what you need to know so that you can do the things that you want to do? Again, it's all about understanding. It's all about awareness. So finding a mentor is big. Being teachable, having a teachable spirit, being prepared, asking the right questions is going to help you. Determining how you can learn from them and being accountable and moving to the things that you desire to do. So when you think about getting a coach or a mentor relationship, it's a huge part of your development, because a lot of times we try to go on things on our own, and where you are now is due to your best thinking. As the word says, as a man thinketh, so is he. So you are needing some outside forces to expand your thought process and expand your mindset. So having that coach, having that mental relationship is going to help you advance to do the things that you desire to do. So the question that I want to ask is, when can you start? And a lot of times we use that as an excuse. Well, I'm not ready to start. We have all these excuses, but you have to start. Now is your season. If you're wanting to do be and have more, if you're wanting to look to find your purpose, now is when you have to be strategic. You have to be intentional in starting that process to get prepared. You can't be scared. You have to be able to get out your comfort zone. You have to be able to take the risk, to move into the unknown. As I always said, nothing great happens in your comfort zone. So let's say that again. Nothing great happens in your comfort zone. So you're going to have to be able to take the risk, to step out on faith, to do the things that you are not doing to get to where you want. John Maxwell says the two most important days of your life is the day that you were born and the day that you find out why. And this is why we talk about the law of awareness. You have to know yourself in order to grow yourself. You have to know who you are. So I want you to take a delve into the law of awareness, listen back on the teaching, and think about those deep questions. During this week, those are the things that I want you to ask yourself, those questions that we talked about, and heightening your awareness of who you are. Do you like what you're doing now? What would you like to do? Can you do what you want to do? Do you know why you want to do what you want to do? Do you know what to do so you can do what you want to do? Do you know the people who are doing? And should you be doing what you want to do? So take the time out. This is where this work comes in. Like I always said, this works if you work it. So take the time out these weeks to get in your journal, take that me time to truly delve and ask yourself these self-discovery questions, because that's what's going to help you move forward. The next law, we're moving right along. The next law is the law of the mirror. And the law of the mirror simply says you must see value in yourself to add value to yourself. And why is that so important? You won't give yourself time to grow if you don't think you're worthy of it. Now, a lot of times we are sometimes our worst critic, and I can attest to that. I can remember when I was at my corporate job and I was doing research. I was a research scientist, and I had the opportunity to get promoted into a new position. And in the position, I wasn't quite sure what that position entailed, because I never done it before. But I knew that I would now be a full-time employee. I knew that I will be moving into branch management, which I will have some supervisory and leadership roles. So it was a great opportunity, but I was questioning myself. I was questioning the gifts that I had. I was questioning my ability to do the job. And I did take the job, but again, in the beginning, I was questioning myself, and I did not feel worthy because there were so many people. They were there longer than me. They had more education and more experience. But then I had to ask myself, why was I given this opportunity? And then coming from a spiritual perspective, knowing that everything happens for a reason. And I had to develop my self-esteem and believing in myself, because the reality is that I could win, I can succeed at anything that I put my mind to it if nobody else believes in me. But if I don't believe in myself, then it's never going to happen. So your self-esteem is the single most important, significant key to your behavior that's going to drive you to your potential. And then personal development is the belief that you're worthy enough. It's to give that effort, to give that time, to give that energy to developing yourself, because you will never outperform your self-image. So think about developing yourself. It's how you look at yourself. It's all about potential. How you look at yourself in the mirror is all about potential. You have to ask yourself, are you satisfied with your behavior? Are you satisfied with where you are? And of course, if you put having a low self-esteem, it puts a ceiling on where you can go. It puts a ceiling on your thought process. It puts a ceiling on your potential. So the value that you place on yourself is really the value that other people place on you as well, because it's a law of attraction. So if you don't believe that you're worthy, if you're walking around with a low self-esteem, people are going to see that, and they're going to respond to you in that manner. So now, because belief drives your behaviors, right? Something that Gandhi said is the thought that drives your behavior. So what you as a man thinketh, so is he. Your belief drives your behavior. So you have to see value in yourself in order to grow yourself, because it's not going to happen if you don't value yourself first. So I want you to think about looking at yourself in the mirror and thinking about where you are. I like the quote that says, if you place a small value on yourself, rest assured the world will not rise to the price. So how do we build up our self-esteem? This is important. How do we build up our self-esteem? First, you have to guard your self-talk. I talk to myself all the time. People may think I'm crazy, but that's okay, because you have to talk to yourself, because sometimes you have to build your own self up. You have to speak life. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. So when you speak, it's a form of owning who you are. It's a form of owning your thinking. It's a declaration of your thoughts. So speaking positive affirmations is one thing that I love to do for myself, and I teach this to others, that you have to speak positivity to yourself, because the more you speak it, the more you believe it, right? And guarding how you talk to yourself is going to be so important to your self-esteem. Another thing is to stop comparing yourself to others. We talked about the comparison gap last week. Stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it. Making comparisons is just a distraction for your own potential. Everybody's journey is different. Everybody's life is different. So why waste time comparing yourself, comparing where you are to other people? Your journey is your journey, so stop comparing yourself to others. And then truly to move beyond yourself and increase your self-esteem, increase your self-image, help other people, add value to others. Because when a person has put a limit on what he will be doing, he limits what he can do. So I love the quote that says, by Henry Ford, that says, whether you think you can or you think you can't, either way you're right. So you have to move beyond your own limiting beliefs and self-doubt in order to get from where you are to where you want to be. It's all about increasing your self-image. Other things to think about that are hard to do is doing the right thing even when it's the hard thing to do it. And that's huge. A lot of times when you think about leadership and increasing your self-esteem, you want to have the right integrity. You want to right integrity and the right character. You want to be a person of integrity. So thinking about doing the right things even when it's hard. And practicing small disciplines daily. Your success is dependent on the things that you do every single day. So think of the small areas of your life that you need to, whether you need to change or improve or to continue doing? What are the small disciplines that you're doing every single day to get from where you are to where you want to be? Next, this is one that I love. Celebrate small victories. This is something that we don't do enough. We accomplish so much in our lives, but we don't celebrate ourselves. We don't take the time to celebrate ourselves. And I know that this was huge for me because I'm a very, very, very ambitious person. I'm very goal-oriented. And I don't take time. I didn't take time for myself to celebrate small victories in my life because I was always pushing myself, and I was always moving and looking forward to that next step and that next level. So recently, when I was going after my terminal degree, and I graduated, I finished. This is something that I was told that I wasn't going to accomplish by, I remember my freshman advisor who told me I was never going to be a doctor. So this was huge that I had this great accomplishment, but I didn't even take time to celebrate. My friends were like, "Are you kidding me? You have to take time to celebrate." So they were the ones that threw me a surprise party because I wasn't even going to take time to celebrate because I was on to the next accomplishment. I was on to the next thing so quickly. So I had to stop and I had to pause and I said, how do I want to celebrate this moment? And lo and behold, I decided that I wanted to take a trip, and that was the year that I went to Dubai and I treated myself. That was my graduation gift. So celebrating however you want to celebrate. You may not be able to go to Dubai, but you may be able to go to the spa. You may be able to treat yourself to a dinner or a movie of your choice. Just celebrating those small wins in your life because those small wins equal big victories over time. And then you want to embrace a positive image of your life and also just take responsibility. A lot of times we don't lead our lives, we just accept our lives as it may. And that's where we fall short because we have all authority, all power to lead the life that we desire to live. And it's all about our choices. It's all about what are we choosing and the life we want to live. It's all about our choice. How we look at ourselves in the mirror is a choice. The things that we do is a choice. So you have to choose wisely. If we don't have a plan or purpose for our life, we will become a part of someone else's. And that's not what we were called to do. We were called to live our own lives. We were called to live in authority. We were called to live a life of abundance. And if that's what we were destined to do, why not embrace it? Why not go after it? Why not seek it? Why not accomplish that? Why not have that be the life that we want to live? So you have to see value in yourself in order to add value to yourself. That is the law of the mirror. Oh, I'm so excited because these laws are amazing and they will help you. They will help you delve deep. They will help you get to the root of some of the things that are blocking you from moving forward. So with the law of the mirror, I want you to go back and think about this, how you are using your self-talk. Noah, what are you telling yourself? What story are you telling yourself about where you are in life and what are the things that you could accomplish? And if there are negative, if you feel that you have limiting beliefs and you have self-doubt and you are talking to yourself negative, how do you change that? What are you going to do? I want you to write down some affirmations, some I am affirmations, and whatever your I am is. I am rich. I am powerful. I am strong. I am able. I am worthy. I am more than enough. Whatever your I am statement is, I want you to write that down. And each day from today up until next week when we get back on the call, I want you to speak those affirmations to yourself every single day. And I want you to watch how things change just that quickly by your self-talk. So that is going to be your homework with the law of the mirror, is guarding your self-talk, assessing your self-talk, and putting to action those positive affirmations. And I also want you to start listing your best personal qualities, evaluating the things that you've done, thinking about those questions. What are the things that you like to do? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What opportunities have you had that you just love? Identifying the passions, the things that of interest to you, the things that drive you, and see how you can put that all together. And this is how we will start understanding, and how we start putting together your purpose and how that aligns with your passion, and then finding a way to bring those all together in a synergy where you can enter into your sweet spot and start developing a plan of action to get from where you are to where you want to be. So that is the law of the mirror, okay? See value in yourself to add value to yourself. And last, for today, we're going to talk about the law of reflection. And the law of reflection says simply, learning to pause allows growth to catch up to you. Learning to pause allows growth to catch up to you. Now, this is a powerful, powerful thing. My mentor, John Maxwell, this is one thing that he always tells us that is a part of his daily regimen, that he takes time out every single day to pause and ask himself an evaluation question just for the day to understand what he learned today. So some of the reflection questions that he asked is, what did I learn today? How can I apply what I learned today? And how can I pass on what I learned today? So taking that pause and just thinking, this is something that I kind of adopted for myself, where at the end of the day, I evaluate my day as well, looking at the things that I accomplished. What are some of the things that went well? What are some of the things that didn't go so well? What are the things that I could improve on? What are the things that need to change? And what are some of the things that I need to stop doing? So when you take that time to evaluate, then that helps you grow, because now, you know, they say that experience is the best teacher, but I will argue that going through experiences are great, but if you don't take that time to evaluate them, you're not going to learn. So you can't, if you're not learning anything, the experience can't teach you anything. So it's evaluated experiences is what it becomes the best teacher. So you can't go through a whole day without reflection. You know, so when you're talking about growing yourself, when you're talking about your own personal development, you have to take time to pause, and you have to take time to push that button to say, okay, now it's time to pause and time for me to reflect. You have to give yourself that time frame in order to do that. So why reflect? You know, we're busy people, right? But reflection also puts us in an uncomfortable place, because it allows us to, you know, forces us to get away from all the noise, get away from all the distractions, to put down social media, to make time, invest in our time for ourselves in order to move to the next level and evaluate. So the power of pausing allows us to do some things. And I like the quote in the book by Peter Drucker that says, follow effective actions with quiet reflection. From the quiet reflection will come even more effective action. And I just love that, because, as I said, evaluated experience is the best teacher. So when you take time to reflect, now you can know how best to move forward, because now you can adjust yourself as needed. You can start doing more things that were working. You can stop doing things that wasn't working. You can adjust your mindset, adjust your thought process, and your behaviors will begin to reflect that. So the power of pausing allows reflection. It will give you insight. and you need that time to take place to give you that reflection. So it gives you that time, and it allows you to be more intentional, right? It allows you to be more intentional in your thinking. And if you are a leader, which we all are, right? Because leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. Taking that time as a leader of your life, of your family, of your workplace, it gives you a vital edge to success, and it helps you with that process. Taking that time to just evaluate and to reflect on things, it helps you in that process of being a successful leader. So do you make that time now? Do you make that time for personal reflection and to ask questions? And if you don't, how can you carve out the time? Because we're talking about growth and development. We're talking about being intentional in this process, in this journey. So a lot of times we don't do that because we say we don't have a lot of time. But do we really? When you assess your day and the things that you're doing each day, what are some of the things that you can stop doing to carve out some time? I know for me, I have an iPhone, and I'm not sure if all the other phones have this capability. I'm sure they do to some capacity, where you can track your screen time. And this could be a good or bad thing for those that spend a lot of time on their phones or on social media. But it will amaze you how much time we're devoting to our phones and to social media and to our screen time and to Facebook and all the other social media platforms, and how more effective we could be in our lives if we use that time more wisely in doing a lot of the things that we are talking about during this book and during this journey. So we only have 24 hours in a day. We know that's not going to change. So we have to do our best in managing ourselves and our priorities and how we will use our time to do the reflection and to do our growth process. So the power of reflection allows us to investigate, allows us to find out each meaning of our experience. It gives us an incubation time. It gives us, time to experience growth to our full potential. It illuminates a lot of ideas. Before we can plan, we want to assess where we are so we know that we're not planning the same things over and over again. We're actually making a forward process. So it gives us insight and illumination on the things that we're doing. And illustration, it expands our experience and our thinking into a teachable lesson. So it can give us an understanding of how we can expand our experience and how we can think about, okay, what does this teach me? So it gives that investigation, the incubation, the illumination, and illustration. So this is why reflection is so important. And in your book, you want to know, you want the right answer, so you have to ask yourself the right question. And that's why I love this book, because it gives you the blueprint. I said, if this works, if you work it, it gives you the right questions to ask to help you to find out your potential. So these are personal awareness questions in the book. I believe it's page 59 to 63. There's 10 questions that you want to ask yourself that will help you with your personal awareness. What is my biggest asset? What is my biggest liability? What is my highest high? What is my lowest low? What is most worthwhile emotion? What is my least worthwhile emotion? What is my best habit? What is my worst habit? We talked about habits last week. What is most fulfilling to me? What is my prized possession? What do I not know about myself yet? So these are some amazing questions that I want you to delve in this week. You have a lot of homework. You have a lot of homework this week because these three chapters have amazing self-discovery and self-evaluation questions that you truly have to take time and go through. And like I said, get a journal. If you don't have one, get a notebook where you are, writing these questions down and answering them truthfully, and being authentic to your true self, because that's the only way we can grow. That's the only way we can truly know who we are. Because remember, in order to get to where we want to go, there's 2 points that we need to know, right? We need to know where we are, and we need to know where we're going. And that way we can develop a strategic and intentional plan to fill in the gap between the 2 points. So these questions are pivotal. They're critical. They're critical. They're critical. I cannot say that enough. So if you are doing this, if you're listening to me and truly serious about this journey, then you will make the time to go back in these chapters and to sit down and to answer these questions. Because in the answers, you're going to get the revelations that you need. You're going to get the answers that you are seeking because you're wanting to move to the next level. You're wanting to tap into your full potential. You're wanting to live that fulfilled life. So you have to ask yourself these critical questions. And so this week you're going to be busy. So I am excited for you. And like I said, this is something that I have done. I actually go through this book annually. It's one of my annual books that I do, especially in the beginning of the year, to kind of get me on the right track, to get me focused in on what I want to do for the upcoming year. So these are questions I have asked myself. So I'm not asking you to do anything that I have not done myself. So take the time, put in the work, put in the work. I can't say that much. Put in the work. We know growth doesn't just happen. You have to be intentional with it. You have to put in the work and be strategic about your own personal journey because it's worth it. It will be worth it. It will be worth it. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard, but it is truly worth it because how amazing would it be for you to wake up every single day full of passion, full of desire, full of fire, to be working and doing the thing that you have been designed and created to do, be, and have, and to help people to live a life of significance and to truly make an impact in this world, because that is what we were created to do. So I'm excited for you and how you will move into that process and move into that filled life. The journey is worth the trouble. It's going to take time. It's going to take sacrifice. It's going to take giving up good to get to great. It's going to take you being a risk taker. It's going to take you stretching yourself, moving beyond your comfort zone, moving into the unknown, taking leaps of faith, taking risks. It's going to take all of that. But this is the kind of introspection that is very rare because this is what we don't do. And that's why we only are using 10% of our potential, because we don't take time to do this type of introspection and to allow ourselves to delve deep within. Because I always said everything that we need for our full success, to live a purpose-driven life, is already within us. So we have to take that time to move in the things that we have been called to do so we can live a life of abundance. And living a life of abundance, I truly believe that's us living successful lives, living our potential, and doing the things that we were created to do. That's success to me. So seeking to know oneself is the key to reaching your own potential. And you have come this far, right? So don't slow down now. You are investing your time in this journey. So The work is just beginning. So I'm excited for you. That is the end of our teaching for today. This is a wonderful Lunch and Learn. I hope that you are learning some amazing nuggets going through the book. This is helping you get some insight as you read through your chapters, as you take the time to go through and answer your questions, that this teaching helps you give you some more clarity on some of the ideas that John has in the book. So this is the end. We talked about the law of awareness. You must know yourself to grow yourself. The law of the mirror. You must see value in yourself to add value to yourself. And the law of reflection. Learning to pause allows growth to catch up to you. So those are the 3 laws for today. And amazing, amazing, amazing. I just hope that you're getting something out of these teachings. And I'm excited next week on your aha moment as you take the time this week to go back, work those questions out, do the introspection, and truly grow yourself. So next week we'll delve right into the next 3 laws, the law of consistency that says motivation gets you going, but discipline keeps you growing. The law of environment, growth thrives in a conducive environment, and the law of design. To maximize growth, you have to develop strategies. So these are the things that we will talk about next week, starting with the law of consistency. And I'm excited for you. I'm excited for your journey. I want you all to have a wonderful and blessed week. Take the time, like I said, put in the work. It is worth it. So this is Dr. Nicole Rankin, teaching on the 15 invaluable laws of growth, and we will hear you on the call again next week, where we will be living these laws and reaching our full potential. Thank you.